What's going on, all you gamers? Today we're going to be going over a little bit more Dying Light 2, and what I'm going to be covering is what I believe are the best early unlocks for your combat and your parkour. So if you want to know what skills to invest in that's going to help you out, then stay tuned. That's coming up next. Welcome back, all you guys and girls. As always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, then why not hit that subscribe and bell icon? I'll bring you all the latest and greatest in content, hints, tips, guides and builds, and just some fun gameplay and views of upcoming games, such as Dying Light, which I'm covering now, and of course Elden Ring once it's released. But for now, we're going to be going over what I believe are some of the best early unlocks for your skills in order to make a truly well-rounded and strong build in Dying Light 2. Now ultimately, there's a lot of skills that you can unlock in Dying Light 2, but what ones should you favour a little bit above the rest early game? These ones I believe will help you out and just make life a little bit easier as you're building yourself up and making your way through the campaign and whatever you want to do in the world of Dying Light 2. So here we have my character right here, and I'm still on the actual starting area in Trinity, although I have managed to farm a few inhibitors in order to get my levels up a little bit and unlock a few combat and parkour points. So kicking off with the combat points, and our first staple one that we have to grab will be the vault kick. This one's going to allow you to jump over staggered enemies and follow up with a kick. So it's absolutely great for that starter position because you're going to be fighting multiple enemies constantly within this game. So you're going to run towards a staggered enemy and press RB and it's going to perform that vault. Press RT during the vault and it's going to do that vault kick. As you can see in the video, really helpful, and it's just going to mean that the combatant behind him is not going to be able to hit you because you've already taken him out. Next up, and jumping just down to here, we've got the perfect dodge skill. This is just one that I underrated quite a lot, but it is such a great move, and the reason for that is because you're just going to be using it constantly without having to press any additional buttons. You're not going to really need to think about it, and a lot of times it's going to proc without you meaning even to do it, just for the sheer fact that you're going to be dodging enemies left, right and centre in this game anyway. So perfect dodge just at the right time and you'll stagger your enemy. Pressing RB whilst moving back or to either side, a successful perfect dodge staggers the enemy. As you can see, when they're doing that big old swing there, as long as you're timing it right, like you would with the next one, which is going to be the parry, it's going to mean instead that you stagger them because you've kind of evaded them. This is just amazing to have, and I found myself at the start of the game not really using dodges, and as you start to progress through and encounter a lot more enemies, you realise just how strong dodge is and how it can get you out of situations scot-free without losing any health, whereas before, if you'd have just took them on normally, you'd probably be in a bit of trouble. Definitely one to invest in, and one to invest in early because it's going to make your life a lot easier. Jumping over to the right here, and we've got air kick. This one is just so fun, so easy to use, and it just works well in all situations. If a character's on a building, as you can see in the video, you can kick them straight off, but even if they're not, you are going to land on them, you're going to do a bit of damage, and very often you're also going to be able to knock them around a bit, meaning that you can follow up with another combo, do what you want with them. It's just going to be a great initiator. The only thing I would say, it's definitely not the best for damage, so use it to initiate when you're going to go in with something else, or to perform kind of a kick off of a ledge, as you can see here. Now the complete opposite to this is this drop kick. This one is just one that you will want to perform whenever you can. If there's a lot of enemies in a row, especially if there's anywhere like a high building rooftop, anywhere narrow like a bridge, anything along those lines, you're going to perform a powerful kick whilst jumping, run at the enemy, hold your RB to jump, and then just double tap LB, and it's going to do this drop kick and knock everyone for 6. You can quite easily get multiple kills, and sometimes you'll find yourself just doing this because it's a lot of fun. One of the best unlocks you can get in the game for taking out enemies really easy, really fast, and without losing any health. Next up, and we've got the power attack. This one is just definitely one you'll want to get. You're going to be mixing this up with your light hits, but you're going to use this one to interrupt their enemy attack or to just smash straight through their block. I found myself using power attacks very often, especially if you're trying to get those bigger, heavier weapons, for example the two-handers. You're going to use this and you'll really feel the weight behind them. A great one to have, and one I would say is probably needed in pretty much any arsenal. Jumping over to the left hand side here, and like I said earlier, we've already managed to get a perfect dodge, now we've got a perfect parry. So this one's more so inclined to people with weapons, so usually the human types. You're going to perform a perfect block right at that last bit when they're about to hit you. You're going to press your LB and it's going to cause them to stagger. This is going to give you an opportunity to follow up with whatever you want to do. If you wanted to drop kick them, you very well could. If you want to hit them with your weapon, again you can do that. Or you can just evade, move away, get round behind them, it's completely up to you. But staggering this is really good for getting you into situations or getting you out of situations and making sure that you control the pace of the fight. Now last, and I would probably say least because it's not one that's actually needed, I'm just doing this because I want to go into two-handers, and that's the windmill skill. You do not need to unlock this. However, if you are going for that kind of two-hander build, if you're going for a lot of damage, this might be a fun one to use. And it does tend to help if you've got a nice mod on, because it can proc quite often and it can mean you get some effects going off in a big area of attack. Jumping over to our parkour, and again the very first one that we have to have, because if we didn't I don't think you'd actually be able to play the game properly, probably, because we do need that additional height, and that's the high jump. You grab this very early on in the kind of tutorial opening sequence as such, and it's going to allow you to jump higher and reach higher ledges. Without this you'd be in a bit of trouble around the world of Dying Light, hence why they kind of make you unlock it at the start so that you can traverse the terrain and get around much easier and faster. Next up, and we're going to jump down to here, and one that definitely will help you out in early game and all the way through to late game, and that's the active landing. Reduces fall damage and keeps your momentum. Pressing B just before the landing. So what this is going to do is going to mean that when you're jumping off, whereas before you're going to smash, hurt yourself, possibly even die depending on your health, this time you're going to be able to press that B just before you land, and it's really going to help you to do that little active roll, and it's going to mean you don't do as much damage to yourself and you're going to continue with your run. Great for when you're in a chase, great for when you're trying to get away, and great for when you're just trying to get around a bit faster. Next up, and pretty much the same thing but slightly different because you're not got to roll afterwards, and that's safe landing. Increases the height from which you can land without taking any damage. So as you can see, this one's just a staple. It means you've already got what you got on this one, except if you wanted to go a little bit faster, you would press the B button to do that little roll, and with this one it's kind of already built in, you don't have to worry about it as such. But again, you're not going to take that full damage. Great early game because health is vital, and if you are making any little boo-boos, being able to not take as much damage is really helpful early game. Next up, and this one is just amazing, great for any encounter, just running towards things, trying to catch up to them, trying to get away from things, trying to leap over buildings. This one's got it all, and that's far jump. Use any obstacle to spring from it and jump further. As you can see in the video, he's jumping over the little wall there, and as you're jumping you're going to tap that LB and it's going to be a kind of springboard effect, chucking you forward with a bit of momentum, making you go further than you would have originally. I found this was just great in a lot of situations, especially at night time if you're running away when you've activated a howler accidentally, or if you just want to get around, this one's the one to go for. Also, sometimes it allows you to get to places that you may not have been able to get to previously, and it's just going to make everything a lot easier and faster. Now the next two unlocks on my list I'm definitely going to get because I feel like I'm missing out on them a little bit, will be this one just up here, the firm grip. The reason for that is the amount of times now when I've been jumping around, I've been trying to get to a big high building like this, I've made a jump, and where you see him pull up right here and get to safety, I have just completely plummeted to the floor. You don't always die, but it does mean that you're going to use a lot of medkits when you don't need to. You're going to fall down, you could fall into some kind of a mischief that you don't want to and aggro a load of enemies. With this, it's much easier, especially if you've got low health and you've got low stamina. You're going to want this because it's going to make life a lot easier and you're not going to fall off of buildings anywhere near as much making those jumps. And lastly, finishing off the early build, I would say you're probably going to want this one. Especially if you're a big fan of stealth, you're a big fan of being silent and doing takedowns and such, stealth movement is really going to help you out when you're crouched. I found myself crouched quite a bit in this game, especially when I'm indoors at night time trying to take down those zombies and such, or you're just trying to sneak up on someone and they've got their back to you. This can really be integral as it can mean you get a lot of chain kills, whereas sometimes at the moment without it, you can feel a little bit on the slow and cumbersome side. well worth unlocking in any build, just for the sheer fact it will make your character a little bit faster, you'll get used to it, and you'll be able to get a lot more takedowns about yourself than you would have without it. Right, well, you guys and girls, let me know in the comments if you've got a difference of opinion, but ultimately I feel they make a really nice strong early build, and it's just going to make your game a little bit easier and a little bit more viable in case you make any mistakes if you're a beginner to Dying Light 2. Definitely best unlocks, I think, when you've got quite a low amount of HP and stamina. Remember, if you've got a difference of opinion, just chuck it in the comments, because there's bound to be ones that people love using more than others. I'd love to hear from you all. But as always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, take care. I'll see you on the next day.